Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rising. Feels good to be back. Saagar, what are we up to today?
Well, we have an amazing show for everybody today. We have David Pakman. He's going to talk a little about impeachment and the Middle East peace plan. That's some latest developments there. We have a person who is suing the company Ring. This is a really fascinating lawsuit.
Yeah.
Has a lot to do with digital privacy and all of that. And then Michael Lind, he's an author I deeply respect. He stopped by. We're going to have a great conversation about class warfare, and maybe how we can unsettle this thing. At the same time, basically, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang are signaling to their voters where they should go in the second round, the second alignment of the Iowa caucuses. We're going to break all of that down. Everybody here knows that we've been focusing a lot on that, because who the second choice goes to matters a lot as to who's actually eventually going to win. At the same time, Texas poll, not good for Joe Biden. Krystal, what's going on?
Not good for Joe. So he still holds a very narrow lead in Texas, according to this new poll, at 28%. Sanders right behind him and likely within the margin of error. I don't have that in front of me right now, at 26%. But the trend is what should really be worrying. Sanders is up 13 points from the last time this poll was taken, and Biden is down 4. So what does this mean? Why is this important? Well, the thought has always been, okay, well, so what? Bernie wins a couple of early states that have small delegate counts. Well, you've got Super Tuesday coming up, and that's where all the big delegate counts are at stake. And so if Biden holds on there, he's got this strong support among African Americans, you got a lot of southern states going, then he's going to be fine. But wait a second. California polls, which is the Super Tuesday state, show Bernie winning, and now Texas seems to be moving to Bernie. If he wins California and Texas, I mean, it's game over. That's it.
And that's the real thing. So my friend Joe Simonson wrote the story and flagged this to us, because the real thing that needs to be pointed out here is that, Biden is still up at the top, but that the trend lines are such that if, let's say, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada all go to Sanders, the whole game is going to change.
Right.
And everything is already beginning to change down on the ground. What's highlighted in that poll is also the strong Latino support that Bernie continues to garner in Nevada and in California and in Texas. Remember, Texas and California, huge amounts of delegates in those states. And the reason Biden and his team were counting on that, Hillary did very well down in Texas in 2008, even against Obama. So the contest, their idea of how to draw out the long contest, it's not going to work for them.
And you know what? Bloomberg or not, if you have that kind of momentum and are pulling in those kinds of delegates, it's over. Exactly. It's actually interesting. Nate Silver had a map. You all should go look this up, because it was pretty interesting, where he, based on his model, had projected out who was likely to win every state in the primary. And this was based on maybe a week ago of data. And there was almost like a divide down the country where Biden was very strong, especially in the Southeast, in the sort of traditional former Confederacy Southern states. And then there was this dividing line, whereas you went west and you had, a different way of looking at politics. You have different coalitions, different demographics. Bernie becomes very strong. And what I noticed at the time looking at this map is Texas was right on the dividing line. And I thought to myself, that could actually be the tipping point. And when you see numbers like this, you see very easily how the chips could fall. I also saw a stat that on average, candidates who win Iowa, it's good for about a 7-point bump. So if that holds,
that's pretty good.
That's all that it would take to totally flip the dynamic in this race.
So when you win Iowa, what are the things that can sink you? Not doing well in New Hampshire, or a bad debate performance? We know from Sanders that he doesn't generally have bad debate performances.
No, he's solid.
If anything, he's kind of like middling. He does his campaign thing, doesn't really attack anybody. So that's not going to happen. What else is going on in New Hampshire? He's doing not just well, better than he is in Iowa.
Right.
So in both cases, the groundwork for a lot of very interesting reasons, right? Because you have totally different demographics, Iowa and New Hampshire. It really is kind of that cross working class support in both cases. And at the same time, stratified field working very well for him. And then his team, Chuck Roach has been on the show so many times, has invested so heavily in Latino outreach and in African American outreach in South Carolina, truly learning the lessons of the 2016 campaign. I don't know if another campaign can beat them.
Yeah.
With the amount of volunteer energy, the amount of money that they have behind them, and then the machine, the vertically integrated machine they have, from paid staffers to volunteers and all that, it cannot be overstated. That's what Ryan Grimm has talked about here. It is an unparalleled machine only comparable to the Obama 08 campaign.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and the other piece is that a lot of Democratic voters want permission to vote for Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
They're not with him only because of these electability concerns, but if Joe Biden starts losing elections left and right, then it's hard to argue that he's the most electable when you can't even win,
Right.
a state in a Democratic primary. So, look, historically, we had Reed Wilson on, who just has encyclopedic knowledge of past and present politics on both sides of the aisle. Historically, this firewall strategy of we're going to wait till South Carolina or we're going to wait till Florida or whatever, it doesn't pan out because things are dynamic and they change on the ground. So look, we always want to put in the caveats. Nothing is a done deal yet. Far from it. Polls still show Biden very close in Iowa.
Oh, yeah, he could win Iowa. People really need to understand that. Not only could he win Iowa.
His coalition is the type of people who show up,
right.
And reliably show up. So we don't want to discount that. But the trends are looking very, very favorable for Bernie Sanders. I will also say, did you read the New York Times story about Biden's ground game?
I did, yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, basically, all these, and not just Sanders' campaign, but Pete and Warren and even Klobuchar, they've got their organization revving.
Right.
Andrew Yang as well. They've got this all revving. They've got it worked out. They've got their precinct captain so that if you're in the caucus side and you need to win people over, they've got that all going. And even this guy that they followed, who is a Biden supporter, who was knocking doors for Biden, was like, this is not going very well.
It's funny. At the same time, we have some news to share. What do we have?
Indeed. Okay, you guys are the greatest. It's really the news that we want to share.
Yes.
The book is now number 6 overall on Amazon of it's
in the
number
country.
6 book in the country.
Yes.
This is insane. This is impossible. It doesn't even make sense. And it's all because you all, responded. Think about all the books that this book is beating right now that had the authors get massive advances. They go with these big publishing shops. They send out hundreds of galleys.
Yes.
They do tons of cable news appearances.
Nothing, and they still can't get it. It is driving people in DC crazy that we were able to do this. It is. I mean, people are people I haven't heard from in a long time since I started this show are like, oh my God, how did you do this? Or congratulations, because what did Ryan say on the show yesterday? Washington respects power. And that's what we've shown here, is that we've got people. We have a lot of people who watch this show who are fed up with most of the information peddlers in this town and their cable news BS. And this is the ultimate validator to point to and be like, you know what? We got a finger on the pulse on the country way better than you.
Well, and the truth is, it's one more sign of how hollow all of these traditional institutions and kingmakers, et cetera, are, that we could put out this book to our little internet startup YouTube show, and that you all would respond more than 100 cable news appearances. It's honestly mind-blowing, but it really does speak to, and this is the part of it that is so incredibly exciting, is it does speak to the fact that you all are the powerful ones. Like all these people who run around here who think they have power, think they're so important, et cetera. No, they are nothing compared to the energy of the populist movement out there on the left and on the right that says we want to challenge power in this town. We don't buy your BS anymore. We want a different kind of politics, and that is where the true energy and true power in this country is. So do not forget that. And thank you all. And by the way, we said if we'd made top 10 that we would do 4-hour live streams, so we're doing that.
We will figure out the logistics.
We will be filming thank you videos pretty much for the rest of our lives, but we will get them done. I promise you that.
That's right.
And thank you also for the very just incredibly moving notes that you've been sending us. Thank you for that. So now the question that I put to you all is, if we make number 1 on Amazon,
what should we do?
What should we do?
Let us know. All right. Put it in the comments.
What you think.
Email us. All right. Krystal and Saagar at gmail.com. We'll see you guys later. And we're going to tell you what's on our radar. That's next.